Hello, welcome to the PhoneWord Workshops event on Wednesday, November the 11th, 2015. It is 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and today on this workshop we're going to be stepping through how to build your own blockchain using the MultiChain platform. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to screen share, and I'm going to talk a little bit about MultiChain, which I played around with in the past. And this is MultiChain, which is a modification of the Bitcoin Core platform, where this has been developed to create your own blockchains, experiment, and create private blockchains in addition to possibly public blockchains. So if you go to multichain.com and you scroll down, you'll see that there's manage permissions, there's rapid deployment, native asset support, and recently this has attracted some very interesting attention, including an article in The Economist. Here's the Great Chain of Being Sure About Things article that recently was in The Economist, October 31st. And I highly recommend you take a look at this if you're new to the blockchain. And within this, there is a mention of MultiChain as you scroll down right around, let's see, apologize for not having this set up. All right, so right in this section, I believe, is mention of MultiChain along with Ethereum. And in any case, you can take a look at that. But MultiChain is mentioned in this article, and it's also focused on in this article from CoinDesk, where they're talking about inside MultiChain, build your own blockchain service for banks. This is primarily targeted at financial institutions that are interested in experimenting with and doing research and development on the blockchain. So you can take a look at that. However, what we're going to do today is we're going to actually build some blockchains. And before we get into downloading the blockchain and all of that, the platform that I would recommend you experiment with for building your own blockchain is a service called DigitalOcean. And this is like Amazon Web Services, where you can build your own servers, but it's a lot simpler to set up and deploy a server on DigitalOcean. So I've already signed in, and this is an account that is used for this purpose, for PhoneWord workshops. And let's go ahead and create our own droplet, it's called. Now, I assume that you will, if you're interested in doing this, you can go ahead and go in and create your own account on DigitalOcean. So we're skipping over that part at this point. But basically, once you've set up your account and you're into DigitalOcean, you can create a droplet by clicking on this button in the upper right-hand corner. If you go here, it comes up with a screen where you can create your droplet name. I'm going to call this MultiChain. I'll do it in lowercase just to be careful. MultiChain demo 1. And I'm going to call it PW, PhoneWord Workshops. And we're going to select the $5 per month option. We'll stay with the New York. It's fine for this instance. And we're going to stay with Ubuntu 14.0, the 64-bit version. They do have options for the 15.10, and MultiChain should run on 15.4 or 15.10. But we're going to just stay with 14.04 for this purpose. We are going to enable private networking, and all you got to do is step through those items, and you can create your own droplet by pressing this green bar. So let's go ahead and do that. And it's working away to create a droplet in less than 60 seconds. And it will be sending me an email to allow access into this, and we will SSH into this droplet here in a moment. But let's go ahead and let it get started. It's cranking away, creating a droplet or a server, your own environment. Now you can do this on a virtual machine. So if you've got VirtualBox or Vagrant or something like that, you can create your own virtual machine and create your own blockchains and instances on that. So there, we've successfully created the MultiChain demo instance, and here's the IP address. What I'm going to do now is I am going to stop screen sharing for just a moment, and I will go back into Hangouts, and I'm going to open up the email that is there. There it is. So I'll go back into screen sharing so I can show you how this works. So you, when you do this, you get an IP address emailed to you along with a temporary password. I'm going to copy that password for this purpose, and I'm going to go into a terminal. So let me switch the screen share over to that terminal. And bear with me just a moment. So I stop screen sharing, and I'm going to go into terminal. Okay. So you should be able to see the terminal at this point. Let me double check that. Yes, okay, great. So you are looking at the terminal, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to SSH into that droplet or that server that we created on DigitalOcean. So I do SSH and then root at, and let's see, I'm going to have to zip back over here and copy this IP address again, paste that in. All right, so I hit enter, and on this case we are going to say yes to this question. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes, I do. Okay, and now it's looking for the password that we had emailed to us. I'm going to copy and paste that in. So there, that's copy and pasted in. It's going to come back and ask me to change my password. I'm going to copy and paste the same password in for the root. And now it asks me for a new one. I'm going to enter a new password. And do that again. Okay, and now you can see we're logged into, we're SSH'd into the root of the new droplet that was created called MultiChain Demo 1 PW, and we're ready to go to set up the MultiChain instance or blockchain. So I'm going to switch back over for a moment in the screen share, and bear with me just a moment. I know this is a little clunky. I'm going to stop the screen share. And I'm going to zip back over to here. And I'm going to switch tabs over to back into MultiChain. Okay, so at this point, we go to the download section. Click on that. And here are the steps for downloading MultiChain. And basically what we're going to do is pretty much just copy and paste all these steps to set up the server. And let's go ahead and copy this one. So I'm copying the CD, change directory to temp directory. Let's see, how can I do this without flipping back and forth? Anyway, trust me, you'll see me. I'm going to switch back over to the command line interface so that I can just paste these items in and you can watch it build on the command line interface. But that's the page that you want to look at for creating your MultiChain blockchain. So here we are at the command line interface again. I'm going to paste that command in. We're in the temporary directory. And now I'm going back over to here. I'm going to just simply copy and paste the download instruction. Hit enter. And it downloaded it to the DigitalOcean server droplet. Now I'm going to go to the next command and open up the tarball. Let's see if I can move this up a little bit. No, can't do it. So here it opened up the tarball and created the MultiChain folders. And now we're going to go back over here. We're going to change directories into the MultiChain Alpha 9. Just copy and pasting that. Let's do this. Let's see if we can hide this. If that makes, whoops. Okay. So now we're in the proper directory to set up the MultiChain blockchain. Go back over and we're going to move the folders into a new location to make it a little easier. Okay, that's done. And now we're going to exit. So let's go ahead and exit. All right, so we close that out, and I'm going to SSH back into the, and actually you really don't need to do this. I'm just simply following the instructions, but doing that, show you we can log back in. All right. Okay, so we are back in, and that basically has downloaded MultiChain into the DigitalOcean droplet server that we created. And so now we're ready to set up the, I want to make sure that I'm showing this to you. Yes, okay, good. So now we're going to go into a new section, and I should probably show you that. So let me stop the screen share for a moment, switch over to back to the MultiChain site, and let's go here. Okay, so this was the download and install MultiChain. If you hover over the red download button and now switch over to get started, all right, these are the steps for getting started with MultiChain to create and deploy your first private blockchain in minutes. So we've already gone through this download and install selection and we created a droplet on DigitalOcean to run this blockchain on, and now it's time to go ahead and set up the blockchain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply copy and paste these items into the command line interface that is SSH connected into the DigitalOcean droplet. So just trust me and you'll see these commands as I run through them. But we're only a few minutes away from creating the first or creating a brand new blockchain on DigitalOcean, running on DigitalOcean it's created from the MultiChain platform. So let me switch back over, stop screen sharing, and I'm going to switch back over to the command line interface, which I believe is right here. And yes, there it is. So we're going to call the blockchain chain 1, and you should be able to see the command line interface. And I want to make sure that that's what we're capturing on the Google Hangout, and indeed we are. So let's switch back over. All right, so I'm going to copy and paste that first command and simply hit enter. Okay. So here's to generate network. Please run MultiChain 1. Okay, bear with me just a moment. We've SSH'd in. We did that. Network parameters set was successfully generated. You can edit it in root multi-chain parameters before. We're not going to do that. To generate, please run multi-chain D1. Okay, great. So let's switch back over to this, and I'm going to display the multi-chain default settings for you. So we'll paste in that command. And these are the multi-chain default settings, which can be changed if you want to set up your own custom configuration. And we're not going to do that at this point, but you can. At this point, you can go in and modify the parameters of the blockchain that you want to set up. You can change the time that a new block is created. Right now, it's set at a default of 15 seconds. You can change all sorts of things in this. It's quite versatile. But we're not going to do this at this point. So to initialize the blockchain, including mining the Genesis block, which is the first block, we enter the next command, which is multi-chain D, chain 1, and then daemon. So let's put that in and hit enter. And now the node has started. So you can see that it started. It's running on DigitalOcean. There is a Genesis block that was generated. And here's the instructions how users can connect to this blockchain using multi-chain. So that's the way you set it up. So that in our instructions, you should be told that the server has started, and then after a few seconds that the Genesis block was found. You should also be giving a node address that others can use to connect to this chain. And if you start to experiment with the blockchain that was that's set up in the first node, you'll see that it is indeed running. Now, it does say to copy and paste the node address here, which is you copy and paste this node address, which is this portion, this blockchain 1. So let's see how are we doing on time. About 23 minutes into it. I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll start another node in another DigitalOcean droplet and connect the second node to the first node. So I am pasting that in. Okay. So now we need to create a second server. So I think we're going to leave it at that for today. And next week we will create the second server and we'll build some assets once we've created the second server. So let me go back to Google Hangout, and I'm going to stop the screen share. I'm going to show you what I was following again. So this is what was being followed, and I've simply copied and pasted all these commands into the command line interface to create the first blockchain. So now next week we'll move on to step number 2, which is connecting to a blockchain. And here we'll create yet another server on DigitalOcean. We'll create the second server, and we'll run this connection command to connect the second server to the first server. And then we'll experiment from there. So that's how easy it is to set up a blockchain using MultiChain. And there's some very, very powerful commands and elements that we can execute. But I wanted to step you through this first provisioning process. Next Wednesday, we will, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, which is Wednesday, November the 18th at 11 a.m., we will provision another server. We'll create a connection from the second server to the first server, and we'll set up some assets. We'll transfer some assets. We'll look at how this is creating blockchains every 15 seconds and do some other experimentation. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope this was interesting to you. But this is just a taste of what you can do with MultiChain. Now, you could do something similar with Bitcoin Core. It's more complex to set up. I like MultiChain because it's relatively easy, and it's got some features and functionality that I think are very, very interesting and very valuable. So thanks for tuning in. Join us again next week, November the 18th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll continue the workshop on creating blockchains using the MultiChain platform. Thanks for joining.